The Fox 61 News at 6 starts now.
I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I can't even imagine someone hitting my daughter, dragging her for 100 feet, and then fleeing the scene in the way that this individual did.
Months after a hit and run seriously injured a young boy along with his sister and mother, New Haven police say the suspect has finally been located and taken into custody. Good evening and thanks for joining us for the Fox 61 News at 6. I'm Brent Harden.
And I'm Sarah Sanchez. Investigators say he was tracked down out of state with help from federal authorities. Fox 61's Alicia Hercules is in New Haven with more on the arrest and how the family is recovering.
The city asked the family to be at the press conference. However, a cousin speaking on their behalf says they're still recovering emotionally and physically from this traumatizing event.
He just expressed to me the feeling as a father to see your whole life just being destroyed in front of your eyes.
Avi Mir, a cousin of the father, says while they're still coming to terms with what happened, the family is grateful that an arrest has been made. On October 15th, just before 12:30 in the morning, the family was crossing the street during a celebration of Simchat Torah, a Jewish holiday. Police say a car was traveling down Gough Street when the driver attempted to make a left turn on Elati Grosso Boulevard. That's when Captain Nicholas Marcuccio says the car hit a 7-year-old boy, his mother, and his 4-year-old brother who was in a stroller at a crosswalk.
Miraculously, the younger son was ejected from the stroller, however, was not injured.
The 7-year-old, however, was dragged by the car and had serious injuries.
He sustained 2 broken femurs as well as some head injuries.
His mother also had minor injuries. The driver drove away after hitting the family. Investigators identified the car and tracked it to West Haven. They identified the driver as 28-year-old Tymel Barker. However, by the time the arrest warrant was signed, Barker had moved to Louisiana.
With the assistance of the U.S. Marshals in Louisiana, we did locate him and apprehend him.
Even though a suspect is in custody, Mayor Justin Elliker says this incident is still hitting close to home for so many parents.
And I have a 7-year-old daughter, and one of my biggest fears is that she'll get hit by a car because people drive dangerously in our community.
Barker will be extradited back to New Haven. He's been charged with several offenses, including risk of injury to a minor and first-degree reckless endangerment. In New Haven, Alicia Hercules, Fox 61.
We're following some breaking news where a woman who was reported missing a month ago has been found dead. New Haven police say Cynthia Chamberlain was reported missing on February 10th. Then on Monday, some kids playing in a park on Hollick Avenue found her body. An autopsy didn't find trauma to her body. Investigators are waiting on a toxicology report.
A judge has found probable cause to try Jonathan Nanita for murder in the death of 11-year-old Jacqueline Mimi Torres Garcia. Excuse me. He pleaded not guilty this morning. Nanita's pretrial hearing is scheduled for May 19th. He is one of 3 people charged in Mimi's death. Her remains were found at an abandoned home in New Britain last October. The girl's mother and aunt have also been charged in her death.
We've been enjoying those warmer temperatures out there the past few days.
Me too, but I have a little cough.
Oh, that happens.
Chief Meteorologist Rachel Frank is standing by with first check of the forecast.
Let me give you a little break in your voice, and I'll talk about the tumbling temperatures. And you know what? We often do get sick when you see the weather change so quickly, right? 70s yesterday, and for some today, and back down tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at temperatures in the 30s by this time tomorrow, and there could even be some snowflakes flying through the air. It's still mild out there right now, though. It's been a meltorama. We've got some rain coming through eastern Connecticut at the moment, a heavier downpour for Windham, Brooklyn, also for Putnam as well. And we could see more rain as we head through the evening and overnight, and there could even be a rumble of thunder. Severe weather is off to our southwest. I don't expect severe weather here, but I can't rule out some heavier downpours, rumbles of thunder, maybe some small hail and gusty winds as some of these come on through. This will be through the overnight hours. Tomorrow we wake up to cloudy skies. We see some rain showers transition to scattered snow showers as those temperatures start to drop. So a high tomorrow in the 50s, but that is in the morning. Notice we go from the 40s down into the 30s by this time tomorrow evening. We'll talk about the changes ahead, and that's all coming up.
Rachel, thank you. The FBI says they arrested a foreign terrorist in Waterbury yesterday. Danny Granados Garcia is accused of killing 2 people in El Salvador, one of them being a pastor. We weren't given any details about the arrest. Investigators say he's a fugitive and an MS-13 gang member. It's unclear when these killings happened. ICE is working to send Granados Garcia back to El Salvador.
Well, right now, police are looking for a man from Waterbury. Eddie Kennedy is accused of defrauding the Waterbury Marriott out of $111,000. Police say he stays in large hotel rooms for an extended period of time, acting as a business owner. Officers say he did the same thing in Southington, so there are 2 warrants out for his arrest. Police say he was last seen at Southbury Wyndham last Thursday, the 5th.
Well, people in parts of southeastern Connecticut who tried to call 911 had trouble doing so today. There was an outage for most of the day, but it has since been resolved. The Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection says Ledyard, Stonington, Mashantucket, Pequot Tribal Nation, and Groton were all affected. Multiple agencies worked to reroute calls to working systems. Officials say it was because of a faulty router and not a cyber-related incident.
Hundreds gathered at the state capitol today to protest a series of controversial bills making their way through the legislature. The 2 bills look to establish state standards when it comes to both vaccines and homeschool education. Fox 61's Aaron Coogan gives us a look at the busy day inside the Capitol.
Well, the primary argument from opponents of both the vaccine bills and the proposed homeschool reform being that of government overreach and decisions that folks here today say should be left in the hands of the people. Designated overflow rooms established time limits on public testimony, and swarms of people spilling into the corridors were just a few signs of the massive crowd at the Hartford Legislative Office building.
We want to preserve the freedoms that we have here in Connecticut.
Each person patiently waiting their turn for a 3-minute stint on the stand. Public testimony heard for a series of bills pertaining to public health and education.
This one-size-fits-all mandate sweeps aside the individual voices of your constituents and replaces medical judgment with government policy.
Proposed legislation in both the House and Senate look to establish a statewide standard of care for immunizations, granting the Department of Public Health the power to determine a recommended vaccine schedule and exclude school vaccination requirements from the state's Religious Freedom Restoration Act. And while neither bill outlines any specific vaccine mandate,
promises are not safeguards. Laws are not written based on promises.
Written testimony from nearly 2,000 people online, alongside opponents who showed up in person, bringing mass concerns relating to how department oversight could impact required vaccinations in institutions such as schools, healthcare facilities, and nursing homes. And it's the same concern surrounding stricter government oversight that has opponents of proposed changes to Connecticut's homeschooling legislation, calling for hands off our children.
She's learning. She's excelling. It's just on a different level.
If Connecticut chooses to march forward this way, they are just inviting litigation. They are inviting constitutional challenges.
For soon-to-be father of 5, Justin Bennett, he says the new House bill that would require all students to receive equivalent instruction would force his family into a box of what, how, and when things are taught.
If the bill is saying that we have to teach a certain version of science or a certain version of civics, like critical race theory, and people disagree with that, what's the recourse? This bill has so many questions that it does not answer.
I think that the way the bill is drafted, it's not going to change what parents who are homeschooling do on a day-to-day basis. They will still be able to teach their children in the way that they feel is most appropriate. What this bill would do is essentially, on a yearly basis, have them demonstrate what their child is doing.
And as public testimony for the 2 vaccine bills is expected to go on for hours, a strict cutoff of midnight Thursday morning has been established. In Hartford, Aaron Coogan, Fox 61.
Thank you, Aaron. Pura's latest decision will slightly increase bills again for customers of Yankee Gas, which is owned by Eversource. The utility regulator says it will allow an $87 million increase, which is less than half the roughly $193 million the company requested. This decision adjusts an earlier ruling from November and sets the company's total revenue requirement at about $806 million. Now, regulators say the order also includes about $40 million in refunds to ratepayers over the next 3 years. Attorney General William Tong called the move disappointing and says it's the 3rd decision this month. He says he believes favors utilities over Connecticut ratepayers. Pura says it kept several cost limits in place and will continue to monitor the company's performance.
Well, you might see gas line crews working in your neighborhood. You rarely get an up-close look at what they're doing.
Fox 61's Victoria Anderson got an inside look at their day-to-day and shows us what's happening behind the cones and construction signs.
The familiar beep of machinery and the green, blue, and white of an Eversource truck are common Connecticut roadside attractions. But for hundreds of natural gas crews in the state, that's their 9 to 5.
Look, Mom, I'm on TV. Eversource crews don't usually appear on your TV screen unless something's gone wrong. An outage, a gas leak, a natural disaster.
We're all one company, but sometimes it's people see Eversource, they might not even know we have gas.
But this time, it's just routine gas line maintenance. A part of the job you might not notice until you need it.
I mean, quite often people see us pull up their house. They immediately, their first question always is, are you shutting my gas off? Are you for whatever reason, and it's not the case at all.
Chief Distribution Gas Mechanic Billy Kostropoulos has worked for Eversource for 34 years, but he's working with infrastructure that's been around much longer than him.
Some of them date back to the early 1900s. The older they are, the more they're going to leak.
Kostropoulos and his crew invited us to take an inside look at their constantly rotating checks of gas lines across the state. Dig, check, seal, and make it look like they were never there. But while you drive by the roadblocks and signs, crews want you to keep one thing in mind.
Oh, we're here to help them, to make it safe.
And Eversource's natural gas team is currently hiring if you want to get an even closer look at what it takes to keep Connecticut powered. In Cromwell, Victoria Anderson, Fox 61.